When I started living like privileged people and understood that it was a mindset that I could just own, I realized that it wasn't just about the things that I was doing, but also the things that I needed to stop doing, the things that were keeping me stuck and broke and sad and still keeping the life that I wanted out of reach. The people who have the 1%, they don't do these things. And it let me know that there were attitudes and actions that I could no longer tolerate. So if you find yourself in one or more of these areas, do not come for me. Accept your spanking and know that it's all in love. Well, welcome back, my friends, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Christy, and I make content centered around realizing no matter where we are in life, no matter our age, we are just on time to live the life of our dreams. A few weeks ago, I uploaded a video about adopting a privileged mindset and how it really just changed my life. It changed my outlook, and it gave me the freedom to be one of the haves and not the have-nots. And I'm not just talking about money, but I'm talking about having and winning at life. Being able to live a life that most people don't understand and would not even dare to dream of. I'm not going to go into the specifics of that video here. I will link it down below for you to be able to watch. But as a quick recap, I was sharing that we often get privilege wrong. We see people having and doing things that we want to experience, but we think that there is just something special about them, inherent to them, that is out of our reach. But we can actually tap into that mindset and have and do the things. With privilege and with a privileged mindset, it's not about just the things that we do, but it's also about the things that we don't do. As I was making this change for myself, I realized that there were things that I had to completely root out, things that did not line up with the person that I was becoming, the person that I saw myself as. And they were also things that I saw other people doing, people who were living a life that I did not aspire after. And so I had to figure out what were those mindsets and actions that they were doing that were keeping them stuck and sometimes keeping me stuck as well. So today, we're talking about the things that people with privileged mindsets don't do. First up, operate in scarcity. If you are holding on to things that are out of date, that are past their expiration point in your life, but for whatever reason, you are not willing to give them up, you're operating from a space of scarcity. People with privilege have an abundance mindset, which basically just means that they know and they trust that what they need is going to be there, and they don't feel the need to hold on to things beyond the point of value or point of usefulness, or hold on to things so tightly because it may or may not be there when they need it. This has been a particularly hard lesson for me that has gut punched me several times because I have worked really hard not to operate out of scarcity. Like, I have been thinking this way, thinking about what does that privileged mindset look like for the past 10-ish years. But I recognized even last year when I was going through my decluttering that there were things that I was holding on to that I wasn't willing to use because I was saving them for later. Nice things that I had that I wanted and that I planned to use someday, but someday was never coming because every time I looked at it, I thought, oh, if I use this now, then I may not have it for later. And for whatever reason, it was so ingrained in me that I didn't even realize it. People who operate in privilege and abundance enjoy what they have. And when it's no longer useful or valuable, they move on. I've seen a lot of you in the comments, as well as it was a mindset that I had myself for a while of thinking that if I let something go, then it was being wasteful. But what it really was, the root of it was fear. But if we're willing to let go of the fear, we will see that thing coming back to us in abundance. Sometimes we focus so hard on a thing, or actually focus on the potential lack of that thing, that we get tunnel vision and we cannot see the blessings that are waiting for us on the other side when we stop focusing so hard on that one piece or that one area or that one person or that one item of clothing or whatever. I give the example all the time about YouTube. At the beginning of starting YouTube, I was operating out of scarcity and out of fear that if I didn't have this, if I didn't have that, if I didn't have all of the fancy editing, blah, 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 people weren't going to watch. When I stopped operating out of scarcity and making it harder for myself and feeling like I had to do all of these things that were really just taking up my time and not allowing me to enjoy being a creator, that was when I started to grow, was when I let go of that fear. God opened up my eyes and showed me how to do things a lot more efficiently and with a lot more return on my investment when I let go of the fear that I had around it, the scarcity mindset that I had around it. Believing something is too good for them. People who have privilege never think that a person or a thing or an opportunity or a job or whatever is too good for them. A lot of times how we feel about ourselves comes out in our willingness to actively dream. Back in another lifetime when I was teaching middle school and I taught in Dallas, and we took the kids on a field trip, this really nice mall in Dallas, North Park Mall. The middle school where I was teaching was an inner city school, and our kiddos just did not have as much exposure to things. So we took them to this mall. And if you know anything about North Park Mall, there is this whole side that has all of these fancy stores, Ted Baker and Italy and Tiffany's, and just all of these fancy stores on like one whole side of the mall. And then all throughout the mall, it has like actual artwork and sculptures that are put up. So it just feels very nice. It feels very fancy. And so as we were walking the kids through the mall, I remember a few of them saying, oh, this is too fancy. I don't feel comfortable here. One of the kids even said, where's the Ross? Why are these stores so fancy? And the sad thing about it is that a lot of adults think that way as well. I know people who will not go into stores because they can't afford it. They feel like it's too fancy. They feel uncomfortable in that space. But internally, what that narrative is I don't feel like I'm good enough for that. You're scared that the workers are going to see right through you and just know immediately that you don't belong there for whatever reason. But you will never get there if you don't ever feel like you belong there. It takes a lot of courage to dream about traveling the world when you have all of these people around you who have never been beyond their city. It takes a level of something different to create a vision board, outlining, thinking about where you want your life to go and praying over that when your current circumstances don't exactly line up with this desired outcome. But it's being able to dream big and see ourselves in those spaces that allows us to actually see and walk into opportunities as they become available. It opens our minds to what is possible and where those things can start to happen. As long as we're in the mental space that there's something about us that is unworthy or undeserving, we will never allow our minds and our hearts to see us in these big spaces, but we will stay confined to these small spaces that we know and the dreams that we can make happen. It takes no faith whatsoever to stay small. Give up after a failure. So many people feel like if a thing does not work out the first few times of trying it, then maybe that thing just isn't for them. We will get so down on ourselves because we do not know how to lose. We don't know how to fail. We live in a society where everybody is made to feel like a winner simply because of existing, and in so many ways don't have the skills to be able to get back up after a failure. People who have a privileged mindset realize that they may not win the first time, but because they believe that thing or that space is for them, then if they keep going, eventually it's going to work out. Personally, I am not afraid of failure. Now, as a perfectionist type A girly, I don't like failure, but I'm not afraid of it because I know that it's a lesson learned. I have learned to use failure as an opportunity to say, okay, God, what are you teaching me through this? Protecting ourselves from failure by either not taking action or by quickly giving up is the quickest way to not get where we're trying to go. A privileged mindset actually sees failure as part of the journey of becoming rather than it being the end of the line. People with privileged mindsets also do not sit on ideas. If you have something that you have wanted to do for months or years even, and all you've done is made elaborate plans for how you want it to go and potentially what it's going to look like, what are you waiting for? People who have privileged mindsets don't sit on the ideas that they have. If they want to start a business, they go for it. They want to travel, they do it. They want to go to school, they make it happen. They want to start a hobby, they do it. It's the mindset that we see in successful entrepreneurs. They don't spend a lot of time sitting on ideas that they have because they know that time is money. And they also don't need the full 100-step plan laid out in front of them before they take action. While you're sitting up thinking about doing something, somebody else is actually out there doing it. They're living the life that in your head you want to get to, but you're so scared of failure that you stay in the planning phase. People who are successful don't get there because everything worked out so easily. The stars aligned and it was just perfect for them from jump. Many of them had to fail and had to be rejected over and over again before the thing actually worked out. But in the time, they were building the skills of resiliency and then learning how to do that thing in a different way, in a better way, so that the next time they can improve on what they did before. Let others walk all over them. If you are a people pleaser and you avoid doing or saying anything that is going to ruffle any feathers, even if that means that you are being treated less than what you deserve, that's something that you need to deal with. People who have privilege know that they are indeed that man, woman, boy, or girl, and they do not let people walk over them. And this doesn't mean going around in arrogance. A lot of times we see only two ways of dealing with what we'll call conflict, either being aggressive or passive. And I guess the third way would be passive aggressive. Many people don't know how to advocate for themselves in a way that is respectful and assertive. And if that isn't a skill that you have, I am going to encourage you to learn it quickly. You have to know how to stand up for yourself, how to have boundaries, and how to stand your ground. And it doesn't mean that it's always easy, but your confidence and your self-respect will shoot through the roof when you know how to articulate your needs in a way that is neither passive nor aggressive. I know that a lot of times when I'm interacting with people, they're not exactly sure what category to put me in, because I am one who will stand up for myself, but I'm not going to do it in a way that is disrespectful. I'm not going to talk about anybody behind their back. I'm not going to be cussing you out, all of this stuff, but I'm also not going to stand for any foolishness. And you already know what's coming, so say it with me. Ain't nobody got time for that. Make excuses for why it won't work. I know and have heard people say, oh, this thing won't work for me because of XYZ. Excuse after ever loving excuse about what makes them and their situation the exception to something working out for them when they put in the work. And I want to stop and say that I recognize that you might have gone through things. You might not have had a great life. You might not have had the greatest of circumstances growing up, but at this point, if you are a grown person, and I'm just talking to grown people here, if you are an adult, you have control over the next steps that you take moving forward. And so, babe, I am saying this with love. If you make excuses about not being able to get to the life of your dreams or staying stuck in a situation, you are the problem. If you have people around you who love you and who have your best interest at heart, giving you sound advice and solutions, and your first thought is about why something can't work out for you, you indeed are the problem. And you will stay in that space until you are willing to start changing your mind. If it's a health issue, have you been to the doctor? Have you gone to a specialist? Have you followed the regimen that your doctor has laid out for you? If it's a financial issue, do you have and stick to a budget? Do you even have a job? If it's a relationship issue, whether work or personal, have you calmly figured out a way to be able to articulate your concerns? What are you actually and actively doing to rectify the problem? People with privileged mindsets don't make excuses for why this, that, or the other can't work. They quickly learn from that situation and then they come up with a solution. Pointing the finger, playing the blame game, and basically just living in victim mode is tempting because it shifts the focus away from what you're doing or not doing. You can't control other people's actions. You can only control yourself. You can only control what you do. You can only control your mindsets and how you move forward in life. When you stay in that victim place for too long, you stop seeing where you actually have power. And one thing people with privilege don't do is give up their power. Follow the crowd. I love the scene from Mean Girls where Katie and her friends, they cut holes in Regina George's shirt, and then she puts the shirt on and she sees the holes and she looks down and she just kind of shrugs and moves on. Then everybody else sees that instead of talking about it or thinking something is weird, they start wearing their shirts like that. People with privileged mindsets are not sitting up worried about what everybody else is doing or thinking about them because they are so focused on their next move forward. They are the ones setting trends. They are willing to move in a direction and forge a path for themselves that not a lot of people are doing because they believe that they can do it. And they're willing to do it even though a lot of people may not understand it or won't get it. Now, I have to be very clear. This is not the same thing as not taking wise advice. I know people who are doing things and are adamant about going in a direction that's just dumb. They have people who are trying to guide them in the right direction, give them advice that they want, advice that they are asking for, direction that they are looking for, but because it's not what they want to do, they don't listen. So what's the difference between the two? One is going to be a decision that actually inspires others, and it's going to be a decision that you feel good about. The other will make you feel further and take you further away from your goals. And the thing is, you will know the difference between digging your heels in about something stupid and going in a direction that other people may not fully understand, but that you know is right. So that is what we have, my friends. These are the things that I realize that people with privileged mindsets do not do. Again, if you have found yourself in one of these areas, do not be mad at me. I had to take a hard look at myself and realize that there were things that I was doing that was not lining up with where I wanted to be, and I had to make that change. So if there's a change you need to make, I encourage you to go ahead and do it. If you enjoyed this video, give it a big thumbs up. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Also, if you're not subscribed, what are you doing? I'm gonna need you to jump on that. Alrighty, guys, I love you, and I will see you in my next. Bye for now. Mwah.